Hello, this is Arlene White Swan. This is part 3 of my talk about the Court of Camelot, or the sword suit, in my tuathadedanaantarot deck. I was reflecting on how well this sword suit corresponds to Sir Thomas Malory's masterpiece, Morte D'Artur, so I thought I'd share with you a little bit about Sir Thomas Malory. He was born in 1415 and he lived to 1471. He was an English knight during the War of the Roses, best known for his highly influential work of medieval literature, Morte D'Artur, which is regarded as the first novel in the English language and the first in Western literature. It's also the most comprehensive treatment of the Arthurian legend. Malory wrote the book while he was imprisoned in the Tower of London. He completed it in 1469, was released in early 1470, and died the following year. So it would seem to me that Sir Thomas Malory was born to write this great work of literature, which is a tome. Once he did it, he was done, because it is a masterpiece. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. So back to the sword suit. We left off the last time at the Five of Swords, which is a good place in change, because the Five of Swords in this deck is about the priestesses of the sacred wells who kept the waters of the earth moving and purified, and the living waters and the living land, and they also gave water to thirsty pilgrims. Their function was very important for the fertility of the land, and when King Amangons and his men came and wiped out the priestesses of the wells and stole their golden cups, the waters went untended, and this was a cause of the wasteland. So now we have the Six of Swords. In the Six of Swords, we're in the Grail legend, and Sir Lancelot is in the kind of one of the final legs of the quest. And he comes to a place where he sees in the distance the Grail Castle, which is one of the goals that he has. And when he gets closer, he discovers that it's on the other side of an abyss. And the abyss can only be crossed by a sword bridge. And this is very symbolic in the sense that the sword bridge is the narrowest and the sharpest and the most painful way to cross. So you have to be really dedicated to getting across that bridge. You have to be balanced. You have to be strong. And the abyss, of course, is the passage from life to death. So that death element exists in the swords. The stars are shining up from the abyss because, as we have in the Faery tradition, the stars are in the heaven and the stars are under the earth. And Lancelot is looking over this abyss and at that sword bridge, and knowing that on the other side is one of the major goals of this quest, the Grail Castle. So does he have what it takes to cross and make it to the other side alive? And at his side is a black dog, which represents Anubis, and Anubis, of course, is one of the guides of souls into the realm of death. So Anubis can also show Lancelot, or guide Lancelot, over the abyss so that he achieves physical entry into the Grail Castle. So it's kind of like the traditional Six of Swords in the sense that the hope is on the other side. And even in the traditional Six of Swords, we have a family kind of looking like they're leaving in the dead of night to escape somewhere and go where things are better. And so Lancelot is seeking to escape the world of the mundane and the human condition, and escape to a higher realm. Basically, it is one of the highest spiritual realms that a human being can achieve. And so he needs to get across that sword bridge, which in the Grail legend he actually succeeds in doing. The Seven of Swords comes from a story in Malory where the knights have been in battles and they've lost their round table knights. They've lost their weapons and they don't know what to do, and they come to the edge of a lake and they see a beautiful lady arriving on a boat with swords and weapons that they need. And at this point they know better than to just assume that this is a benign being, because the first thing that comes to their mind is, what if she's the foul fiend here to trick us, and those weapons are actually to be used against us? So there is that, again, that's in the sevens, that potential for deception. Is this benign? Is it evil? Are they friends or enemies? Is it the truth or is it a deception? And so we don't know, because this is the fairy queen coming on her swan boat with swords. And we don't know with the fairies sometimes what their intentions are, do we? So that's the Seven of Swords. With the Eight of Swords, we're back into the Arthurian legend proper, the battle between Arthur and Mordred. One of the ways that Mordred attempts to usurp the throne of Camelot is to steal Guinevere, because the queen represents the sovereignty of the land. She is the land, she's the fertility of the land, she's a representative of the goddess. So Mordred abducts Guinevere. And there's a sort of, this comes up in fairy tales, it also comes up in the Arthurian legend, that one way that you know that the queen has been abducted is you will find her mirror and her comb lying on the ground, usually next to a well, because a well is a portal to the underworld, it's a portal to Faery. And since Mordred is the son of Morgause, the sister of Morgan Le Fay, he's a half fairy, he has access to the other world, and he takes Guinevere there. And again, I show in the card Mordred abducting Guinevere reflected in the waters of the well, and her comb and mirror on the ground beside the well. I always find this extremely evocative and very magical kind of image. I know the comb and the mirror are connected to Venus, so it's, again, it's the goddess, and it's the fertile goddess and the love goddess. In the Eight of Swords also, you know, that's about feeling restricted, and it's usually a woman tied up in a ring of swords, and so Guinevere is tied up by Mordred into the ring of the well and to be taken into the underworld. In the Nine of Swords, we have Mordred. He's feeling powerful, he's calling all his soldiers, he's calling all his men, and he's going to assassinate King Arthur, and this of course results in the Battle of Camlaan, in which both of them fall. But here we have Mordred, he's very confident, and this is a card of despair. And so when considering the fact that the protagonist is King Arthur here and that Mordred is the villain, it is a kind of a despairing of seeing your enemy gathering his forces, planning out his plot, being definitely your worst nightmare. And in the Ten of Swords, we have the end of the Battle of Camlaan, where Arthur has fallen in battle. Mordred and Arthur killed each other, basically. And as he's lying on the shore, he sees a black boat with three queens coming toward him. One of the queens is Morgan Le Fay, and she's a funny character because now she comes around full circle as the healer of Arthur's wounds. Though she is the one who set this whole nightmare up, she comes in to, I suppose on one level you could say, to kind of end it. So these queens take King Arthur to Avalon, where he is laid to rest, or healed, or laid to rest. Sometimes the stories differ, but he is buried under Glastonbury Tor, where he is said to be in a kind of living sleep, ready to arise whenever he's needed to defend the British Isles. So this is the end of the sword suit, and it's quite a saga. And when you read the cards with these, you know, if these stories are in the back of your mind, I think they can really enrich your readings, because the Arthurian legends are archetypes and really address the human condition on so many levels. It can really help you dramatize the storytelling of your reading with the cards. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will do the other suits. I kind of like sharing this with you. In the book, I'm far more precise because I'm trying to do these stream of consciousness and kind of off the top of my head, whereas in the book I wrote it all out 20 years ago, and it's all very much more. I was much closer to the research back then, so it's a lot more maybe pinpointedly accurate, I guess you'd say. So thank you, and this is my YouTube channel too, so if you want to like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff, that would be awesome. And yeah, take care of yourselves, and thank you. Bye-bye.